In this episode, Debbie Simmons reveals how to lead with legacy, one intentional, faith driven step at a time. Drawing from her personal tragedy and decades of purpose filled leadership, she introduces the best strategy breathe, evaluate, step back, and take action to help listeners move from overwhelm to clarity and from survival to significance. Whether you're growing a podcast, a business, leading a mission, or navigating personal trials, you'll walk away with powerful tools to act with focus and lead with conviction and leaving a lasting impact.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show, where you will discover how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream. Paul Guyon, the mastermind behind the Lead Machine, introduces you to trailblazers who inspire you to implement life-changing solutions and systems you can model to nurture your leads and get your offers seen by your ideal clients who will invest in themselves and you. Be sure you visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, tune in and get ready to transform your vision into reality.
Welcome to the Lead Machine Growth Show. I'm Paul Guyon, your host, lead machine coach, and the founder of the Lead Machine Marketing Group and Mastermind, and I'm dedicated to helping you tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream life. Whether you're starting out or taking your business to the next level or your personal life to the next level, let's get this conversation started and turn your dreams into reality. So my guest, who I love the yellow that you're wearing today. It reminds me of spring, and finally spring has sprung. Although it's almost summer here in northern Michigan, but a beautiful day, and your yellow makes me think of yellow flowers and that kind of thing. So thanks, Debbie. Debbie is a mother of 9 through the miracle of adoption and a woman whose legacy was born through loss. After the heartbreaking death of quadruplets, her journey through grief became a catalyst for purpose-driven growth. Today, she's the CEO and co-founder of Anchor Point, a faith-based nonprofit that empowers families, supports women in crisis, and equips leaders to navigate trauma with clarity and strength. She's also the author of The Heart of Legacy, Living a Focused, Faithful, and Fearless Life. She's a sought-after speaker, legacy coach, and she helps entrepreneurs and ministry leaders turn adversity into impact. And she's also passionate about helping others lead with conviction, build lasting influence, and grow businesses and missions that align with their God-given purpose. And I love that. Her life is living proof that when you lead from the heart, even the hardest days can fuel your greatest legacy. And I couldn't agree more. I just am so happy to have you here today. We've tried to get you on the show before, and we finally have been able to arrange that. And I'm happy to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So your story began with deep personal loss, which is deeper than I had realized until I just read your bio. I'm going, oh my gosh. How did that experience shape the way you lead today? And how did you get through that?
Well, I will tell you, it definitely was a very trying time. But even before we get to the loss of the boys, we had, you got to understand when you are a person that can pretty much accomplish whatever you want in life, if you just set your mind to it and you do your task and stuff. This is me growing up. And
Mm.
one of my big objectives in life, because I didn't have grandparents really growing up, was I wanted to be a young grandma. So I had this goal. I was like, okay, I got to find a man, get married, get pregnant, have kids. Then you can get to this great grandma thing, right? Where I can be young. So I'm on
Wow.
this mission. And as soon as we got married, I was like, let's try and get pregnant. And we ran into years of infertility and
Hmm.
issues. And I remember that even challenging my kind of self-worth and who am I? And I'm a failure at this. It was all me. And then our last effort was when we got pregnant. And when we got pregnant, we were originally diagnosed with twins. And then I ended up with a stent in the hospital because of bleeding. And they told me, oh no, it's actually 4. And so
Wow.
that kind of changes your whole perspective. When you think you figured out what you're going to do, and then like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to accomplish anything anymore. I'm like, this is
What
crazy.
do you mean? You missed
Yeah.
the quad fectra.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm like, dude, the first night I got home, I called my mom and I was like, "Oh, mom, it's not 2, it's 4." And I'm like, I can't even get these kids home from the hospital. I can't get 4 car seats in a car. And I'm like, I can't provide this. And before you knew it, I was all the way out to, if it's 4 girls and they all have weddings, how am I going to afford those things? And my mom was like,
Uh,
you need to slow down and take one day at a time. And I remember that was such a gem of information just to go, okay, yes, I can do one day, And so I think when we
yeah.
get overwhelmed as leaders, we lose it on that. So we went on this journey, and ultimately, our boys were born at 26 weeks because um, one of the sacs broke. And at that point, technology could not save them. But, today those boys could have been saved. And so they just were
Mm.
put in my arms and they passed into eternity as I just loved
Oh.
on them. And that
Mm.
night, I had some significant things that I learned that God kind of walked me through. And when we face challenges, a lot of times out of me anyway, I don't know about you or your listeners, but out of me comes this question of, why me? Why God? Why now? Why, why,
Mhm.
why? And I'm just like, and God is whispering to me, I need you to give me your why. And I'm like, no, I like my why. I'm holding on to it. It gives me some level of
Mm.
comfort because it's the only thing I can control at this point. Right. And he's like, I need you to release that. And so I finally was like, okay, because I just knew nowhere else to turn. So I was like, okay. And then he's like, ask me a different question. And I'm like, what? I don't know what to do. I'm like, I don't know. And the question was, how do I survive? And that's the
Mhm.
question I began asking. How do I survive? And it came down to breathe and find the next best step.
Mm.
And so breathing puts us in our prefrontal cortex where good thinking happens. And
Mm.
then whatever our next best step is, and it can be for you and me, it could be different things. And there were days that it was
Yeah.
literally just pull the cover off of my head, brush my teeth, walk around for a few minutes and get back in bed. That was it. And then it just got to be more and more and more I could do as long as I kept moving. And as I did that, that started a healing journey that then led to a change of questions. And the question became, how do I thrive? Because
Mhm.
I knew I didn't want to be that same person that was stuck in all those emotions, all that stuff. And I wanted to live. So I started asking that question, and that created a space where doors began to open, like working with women who had lost children, or grief groups, or ultimately it led us on the adoption journey. And then it led us to start the nonprofit that I run that impacts thousands of people each and every year, and then writing the book. And so all of these things happened because I went through something difficult and didn't let it define me and hold me back, but to say, how can I figure my way and trust that God's going to work it out and it's going to redeem my story. And this is how I've made it to where I am today. And those questions I still ask all the time. Even in my CEO roles, those questions still apply. I start with why, and I've tried to drop that sooner now, but get to those other powerful questions of how.
Yeah, when you first said God said, "Give me your why,"
Mhm.
it, I immediately went to, okay, what's my purpose? Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why do I have these expectations? But what he meant, I think,
Mhm.
is that trust me and give me everything. Hand it over to me instead of tell me what it is. He already knew what it was. He
Mhm.
wanted you to surrender to his will
Mhm.
by handing over your why.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because hey, here's the deal with why. You and I, nobody could have given me what I've determined is nobody could have given me an answer that would satisfy me. It wouldn't
Yes.
bring my boys back. It wouldn't get rid of the pain. Nothing God could say, nothing you could say, nothing my husband could say, nothing would satisfy the why. So the why keeps me stuck. and it
Yeah.
keeps me inward focused, and it isolates me, and it can create a very negative spiral. And so that's what you said is true. That's why he wanted me to give it up, because when I
Yeah.
release it, the how words are action words. They can get
Yeah.
you unstuck. And that's what that's what we have to do to be able to live.
Yeah. Amen. So, how has that clarity then influenced how quickly and you make decisions now in your leadership roles?
That's a great one. I actually, I'm not a why girl very often. It takes a really big thing. Now, I will tell you at Anchor Point, I got my first lawsuit a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh.
And when I got that, I was like, why did I get this? I did everything right. And then it was like, oh, okay, let's put that down. And how do I survive? What's the next best step? And I'm like, oh, I should probably call the attorney, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And so, the faster I can give up the why and trust with it and go, okay, how do I survive? It shifts everything in me. So I'm pretty good. People like to say, oh, you have such great faith. And I'm like, no, I just learned to surrender sooner and give the why up
Mhm.
and go, okay, how do I do this? Because I don't like sitting in pain. That's me. I don't like being stuck. And so I'm like, how do I survive this? What do I got to learn? What do I got to do? What's the next best step? That's just who I've become, because I'm like, most of the time, our way is not for it to be removed. Our way is through whatever thing we're facing, because there's something bigger coming. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, how do I get through that faster?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there's an author and podcaster. His name is Hal Elrod. He's the author of the Miracle Morning book,
Mhm,
which is a great book. And one of the things he talks about is the 5 minute rule. And the 5 minute rule is that, yeah, you can be angry and upset and pissed off about something, but only for 5 minutes. From that
yeah.
point, you've got to go on, because you can only control how you react to those things. You can't control the thing that happened, those
Mhm,
circumstances. And we ruminate on those circumstances. And so much, like you said, so much so that you're stuck, and you're stuck and you're stuck and you're stuck, and you can't move. You can't get to what your purpose is
mhm.
without giving that up. So
Yeah.
I love that, giving that surrender.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
plus whatever we play in our head, like he says, those 5 minutes, if you don't turn it off, whatever plays in your head is going to become your reality.
That's right.
And we just have to know that. And I think we get stuck. If you look back, then we get depressed, regret, shame, all
Mhm.
the stuff. If we look ahead, we get anxiety and worry. And the only thing we can deal with is what is right in front of us today. This is the only thing that we have a chance to change. And so it's like, hey, don't get stuck. Let's stay here. And that's what his 5 minutes does, is it gives you the pleasure of sticking for just a minute, but then turn that sucker off, and let's go.
Yeah. 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 So what does it mean to lead with legacy, and how can entrepreneurs use that to build that kind of impact? Because most of us are focused on just the here and now, and I got to make payroll, or I've got to get this next sale, or I got to grow my business, or I got to post on social media. You know, those are just tactical things that you probably
Mhm.
should delegate anyway. But how do we lead with legacy and really make that kind of impact that you have?
Yeah. So here's where I learned this: sitting in that hospital room after holding those boys and they go
Mm.
off into eternity, it was like my world just changed and everything became about eternal impact and legacy and what kind of difference did I want to leave in this world. So I had probably up to that point just lived my life and kind of let my life happen, and I had goals and stuff like that. From that moment on, it was like this light bulb went off and I was like, I have to be intentional every moment of every day, to be intentional about living out
Mhm.
the legacy that I want to leave. Because the reality is, whatever we live now is going to be what ends up being there at the end. Because you don't get to the end and go, okay, let's plan a great legacy that outlasts us. You'll have one, but will it be the impact that you want? Right. And so we have to choose now. And I just chose, I'm like, okay, everything needs to be about eternity and what I can leave behind. And I remember going to a friend and I was like, I think I ought to start this ministry. And would you partner with me to do it? And we'll be able to build something that lives longer than we do. And it would be
Mm.
kind of crazy. And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, oh man, someone agreed with me. I might have to do this. And so God took us on that wild journey. But it's like, don't get so overwhelmed by the details right now. So, even like in my day, I plan my day and I have objectives to accomplish and stuff like that. And then literally I go, okay, God, here's my day. I've done my best to put my plan together. And then I'm very conscious of interruptions or disruptions that come into
Mm.
my day to go, okay, God, what are you doing that I need to be paying attention to? So if I have a staff member that comes in and their life is crazy and they're flipping out and everything, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is what I needed to focus on today. And
Mhm.
so I need to be fully present, or it's a child. I have children that do this too, but they come in
Yeah.
and they're losing it. I'm like, I need to spend time here because this is of eternal. This is significant. And I can be an impact player now. And this will potentially change the trajectory of this person's life. And so I go, did I get everything checked off on that list that I had started? And I'm a to do girl. So I'm like, I got a list. I like to get it checked, but I can relax that I got the important things done and I can pick up
Mhm.
these other pieces. And you know what? Those other pieces are always going to be there. There's always going to be payroll. There's always going to be more to dos, especially if you want to grow and build and expand. And so we have to think of
Yeah.
what are the significant things that we get to participate in or lead the charge in and make sure we stay focused on those. That's why what you said of, hey, maybe they ought to have an assistant is,
Yeah.
what is it that I can delegate? Everybody in our organization, their mindset has to be, and I just drill this, is your job is to work your way out of a job because
Yeah.
we've got more to do. And so you need to employ volunteers, we need to add staff, whatever we need to do to continue to elevate you to be able to focus on only the important things. And as CEO, I go through this. The other day, I was in the middle of pulling reports out of QuickBooks, and I'm like, what am I doing? I shouldn't be doing this. Not that I can't do it, but
Yeah.
what am I doing this? I need to be doing this over here, and I'm derailed in this mess, and I lost, 30, 45 minutes, which wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like significant. And I needed to be doing significant things that only I could do to help move us forward. And so those are kind of the things that run around in my head when I think about how to be an impact player and continue making an impact for years and decades to come.
Yeah, and I think you covered some of this, but with intentionality, and of course, I'm looking for maybe some tips too. But how do leaders stay grounded in that legacy? I mean, you kind of just scratched the surface there with, okay, you were running reports in QuickBooks, and you shouldn't be doing that. So, what are some of the other things that we can do to make sure that we're grounded and that we're thinking of that? I hadn't heard this before. Thinking of the eternal. I mean, when you're 20 years old and you're starting out, you're thinking of the next paycheck. But as we get older, we want to leave a legacy,
Mhm,
the sooner you start from that, the more
mhm,
likely is that you're going to be able to do that. So,
mhm.
how do we stay grounded?
Yes, so that's a great question. So for me, the way that I do it is I obviously have certain goals and objectives that I would like to meet for me
Mhm.
personally, for us as an organization, and or even in our marriage and stuff like that. And so the key is where am I going? And am I setting course, am I setting things in place for me to get there? Now, my time frame might be, hey, I want to accomplish this in a year. And that's great. And so I'll start working that, but I don't get derailed by the fact that something else may come in that I need to deal with. And it may adjust my timeline. But if I don't have a goal, if I don't have anywhere that I'm shooting to be, then I'll just wonder. I'll never get anywhere. And so having those goals and objectives, and I think having people in our lives that we trust, that we can like lay our souls bare with, that can challenge us. I always used to have a guy call me and go, Miss Debbie, what happens if you die? Will the ministry keep going?
Oh
And
my gosh.
I'm not going to die today, but okay, it's a great question, right? Will it
Mhm.
sustain itself? And he would call, and he was very faithful. He was an older man. He had run tons of banks and expanded things and done so. So this was this piece of wisdom. And I would continually go, this part of the ministry would be absolutely fine. It's got the staff, it's doing its stuff, it's not taking a lot of my time, and it could continue going. This part of the ministry, oh boy, this would just crumble. And that's not a problem. It's just, oh, okay, either it's too dependent on me right this second, or I need some structure. But it always forced me to be looking at how I could build the organization if I was completely removed from it. And that's continually how we've done it today. And so I think even as an entrepreneur, one of the things is every entrepreneur wants to have a staff at some point. What would your staff, what would your org chart look like? Would it be
Ah,
you and three or four people? And then what I tell my staff to do is I tell them, go write down whoever you have that can fill in your org chart. Like, what do you want your org chart to look like in 4 years? And whatever it looks like, fill it in with people that you have. And then I said, in every other spot, write your name. And so when I
oh,
did that for me, my name's everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to have a plan. But it caused me to be really strategic to go, okay, which one of these could I give to someone, or could I bring a person on that would relieve, or maybe they get two of them that would relieve a lot of pressure off of me and give me more
mm,
freedom. And that is extremely powerful for keeping in mind what you want to build and then looking at where your challenges are and going, this person can. And it's interesting, you said the VA. I've never had an assistant. And I just got one
uh-huh.
finally. I had staff
Oh,
members, but I never had a direct assistant. And I just got one in the last year. And I'm like so elated because I'm like, just tackle my email box, get that out of my life.
I
And
know.
there's so much freedom in that. And I'm going, for the amount of money that it's costing to invest to do that is nothing compared to what I have the capability of
Hmm.
finding donors for or investors for, to make things happen. So sometimes it's trusting the process too and doing it and knowing that it will come to fruition if we continue to do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. I love what you just laid down. Create an org chart of all
Mhm.
the things that you do. This is like sort of the E Myth by Michael Gerber, because when you're a solo entrepreneur, you have all the different roles, but they are
Yeah.
roles. You're the CFO, you're the CEO, you're the HR person, you're the bookkeeper, you're the marketer, you're
Mhm.
the VA, you're the everything, right?
Mhm.
But you have an org chart and you fill that with people that you already know or that you may
Mhm.
have in mind that
Mhm.
could fill that position. You don't have to fill them yet, but
Right.
just this helps you visualize the
Mhm.
scope of what you do and what needs to happen over the next few years. This helps you set a goal,
Yeah.
multiple
Mhm.
goals to fill those roles, and you can prioritize that org chart and say, "Oh, I'm really bad at the bookkeeping, so that would be something that I should outsource right away. The marketing,
Mhm.
maybe so much that I might love that and I might want to stick with that. The sales, you might be the face of the company, so you've got to be in that role. But there's the social media person, there's the slicing and dicing and all those little tactical things that you do. Uh, those things can be outsourced.
Mhm.
And you just need to be the one in charge of the making sure that there's a good strategy that you follow and you're continually revisiting that.
Yeah.
Uh, but I just love that because that's a goal setting tool, the org chart. And I
Mhm.
never thought of it that way until you
Mhm.
you just laid
Yeah.
down that wisdom. So thank you for that. Gosh. That's
Yeah,
great.
and the overwhelming feeling of knowing you're in every box. I'm like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
why I feel out of control." And so now, if I can
Yeah.
name it, I can tame it. So now that I see
Wow.
this, I can make a plan.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, "Oh, I just feel pressure." It's like, "Oh, well, this is true. I should feel pressure." So,
That's great. Well, moving on, you teach something called the best strategy. Can you walk us through that? I dropped a little hint about what that was in the introduction, but
mhm.
what is that and how can it help leaders move forward?
Sure. So the first one is very easy. It is breathe.
Breathe.
And literally, when we are all anxious and worried and like, stressed out, we start acting and making choices out of the emotional part of our brain. And
Mhm.
I will tell you that's never effective. Usually, if you and I can just wait 3 to 5 seconds and then make a decision, the prefrontal cortex will kick in and it'll be a better decision. So that's why they always say breathe. But if you're not breathing, you're dead. Okay. So you're not
Yeah.
helpful. That's first. But if you are, then let's get that prefrontal cortex back engaged. So your thinking part of your brain is the one that you're making decisions from. So just that simple act of breathing will change the atmosphere, changes everything.
And
Then
I
go
think
ahead.
you need to be aware of the breathing and say, I'm
Yes, a
doing this
deep breath.
intentionally. Yeah.
Yes, a deep
Instead
breath.
of
So
just,
in
yeah.
through the nose, big breath, and out. So you want to fill your whole chest cavity and just feel things just kind of go out of your body. It may take
Yeah.
more than one breath. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
you know, let's do 2 or 3. So
Yeah.
that's real key, but that's
Mhm.
pretty easy. Okay.
Yeah.
And then once we do that, then what we want to do is we want to evaluate our situation.
Mhm.
Okay. What are the facts? Not what's the emotions running around, but like, okay, this happened, and then this happened, and then this is happening. This is a concern, and kind of just dump all this stuff, maybe out on a notepad or talk it through with someone, but just put it out there so you can figure out the magnitude of what you're facing and doing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Then what we want to do is we want to step back from all of that. Okay, you've put it out there, you breathe, go take a walk, do something that you like to do, get some perspective, just get away from it for just a little bit, and then come back with a fresh set of eyes. And when you come back, then you will be able to determine what that next best step is and take action. So do whatever little thing it is, whatever big thing it is, so that you can begin to move forward. And then you can just keep going back of stepping back, taking the next action, stepping back, taking the next action. And you'll be able to see that as you evaluate again, the things have changed. And so I like to keep it, I'm a really simple girl and I like to keep it simple. So for me, the
Mhm.
breathing, the evaluating, and stepping back, and then what one thing can I do has been just tremendous for me. And then I go, okay, what's the next one thing I can do? And if
Yeah.
the famous, kind of saying out there that you eat an elephant one bite at a time.
Yeah.
If the elephant's so big you can't even, I can't even see around it or whatever, then I'm going, okay, quit looking at the whole big thing. Let's just take one step and do it and do it. And then we'll evaluate and we'll go, okay, he's halfway gone. That's great. Okay, let's
Yeah.
keep going. So I do have staff that walk in my office and they are going, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. And I go, I need you to breathe. And
Mhm.
we talk through it. They step back, and I'm like, okay, what's the next best step? That's what we're going to do. And they go, well, what about this? Da, da, da. And I go, look, I don't know how we're going to get all the way through this. I know the person who does, so we're going to trust him. And then we're going to do the next best thing. And it's going to open the door and show us how to get through there. If we get a slam door, great. What's the next best step? We just
Yeah.
alter over here and we keep on going. So that's how that best strategy works, just to keep it simple, keep you moving forward and get you out of freak out mode is what I like to call it.
Yeah. and it's a rinse and repeat kind of thing. It's an iterative process
Mhm.
until it's done. A lot of us get bogged down into the evaluate part.
Yes.
You know, we might, oh yeah, she Debbie said breathe. Okay, now let's dig in, and then we're already on the taking action. That's where I would be. I would be on the taking action instead of the stepping back. And the stepping back really helps because now that I've evaluated all the different things that might be part of this problem that we're trying to evaluate, your brain goes to work.
Mhm.
Subconsciously, your brain goes to work, and you don't have to think about it. I think the disconnecting and stepping back is probably the most important besides breathing. We're all
Yeah.
breathing, but uh, that's probably the most important step. But then taking action, of course, every one of them is important. But
Yeah.
that stepping back thing allows your brain to process things and say, okay, oh, I didn't think of that connection. There's this connection too, and maybe even uh, s-
Mhm.
talking it over. I like talking with your staff and with your confidant, your mentor, your
Yeah.
spouse, your partner, whatever that may
Yep.
be, to help you get through that. So
Yeah,
I
and
like that.
I think that stepping back, there is a I can't quote the stat or whatever, but there is research that says like if I go exercise, I'll make better decisions because my brain is
Mm,
still processing, but I've given my body something else to do.
yeah.
From that perspective. And so it can still process but it's focused here. So subconsciously it's working for me while I am getting my body to do other things and putting it to work. And so that's why, just a simple walk is such a good thing for us. And it doesn't have to be long. I just truck around the block and then back. So
And bring your dog with you too.
yes, I do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So many entrepreneurs feel overwhelmed and stuck. What's your advice to someone that's lost their clarity and momentum in their business life? I hope you don't say best because that's part of it, but what else?
Well, here's what I would say is stuck is a choice. Okay. We're
Mm,
not stuck. We have the power to move forward. And it is a mindset. So we
mm,
don't want to stay stuck. So just like when I was sitting in that room after the boys had died, I could have just given in. But this is where I think friends or accountability uh, people that come alongside of us that help give us perspective on why we feel stuck and also challenge us to figure out the next best step, right? So I think we need people in our lives that we give permission to challenge us and not
mm,
let us just stay stuck. I do remember just recently I was struggling with something and I was just like, I just want to get under the covers, stay under the covers, and I want to quit because I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm all this stuff. And I had a great friend, two of them actually, and my spouse that came alongside and said, "You need to reframe your thinking. And,
mm,
kind of, you need to stop because you're going a bad way if you keep going that way.
mm,
We get it. It's hard right now, but you can't just quit. And so let's reframe your thinking. One, made sure I did something that just was not focused on my issues too. And so they
yeah.
dragged me to do something. And then the other ones were praying for me or whatever they were doing. But forcing me to reframe and me being willing to lean into that and know that they have the best for me and they want the best
Yeah.
for me. That's why a coach is so important is because they just bring
Yeah.
a whole nother perspective to it. And I remember telling someone, I'm so overwhelmed and everything was rolling around in my head. And then I sat down with someone and I listed the things. I only listed like four things, but I had decided it was enough to take me out. And I'm like, when I saw it on paper, I'm like, oh, and I'm thinking, I'm like, surely there's like another 10 in there that are causing me problems. And I was like struggling. I maybe came up with one or two more, but I'm like, okay, now this doesn't seem so big. So I think those accountability groups, people in our lives that are going to
Mm,
love us, challenge us, encourage us, So I like to say my deal is I love to challenge people to get unstuck and to
Mhm.
stay unstuck. I can't do it for you, but I can ask you good questions. I can encourage you. I can do all these things. And that's the kind of people you need in your life. And know that this isn't the end. This is just an opportunity to stretch and to grow and to learn, even if you're in a difficult season. So it doesn't make light of the stuck, but it says it's not the end. This isn't the end. It doesn't have to be over.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we feel stuck because of that org chart that has our name on everything, and that's when you are stuck. That's one of the things that you might want to think about. But having that sounding board, that person
Mm.
who can say, "Hey, wait a minute,
Yeah.
wake up. Let's reframe this. Let's think about the opportunity that this presents. This could be a growth opportunity. There could be something that in that adversity that could be an opportunity, as Napoleon Hill says. In every adversity, there's an equal and opposite opportunity
Mhm.
that you just need to. And I say you need to recognize it and seize it. Take action. Take the next best
Yeah.
action. Yeah.
Yeah. I think even just having that org chart and have someone else look at it, and if you're stuck, overwhelmed looking at it, and the person goes, "Well, if you could just put someone in one of these positions, what would give you the
Hmm.
most time?"
Yeah.
And you go, "Oh," because you're not thinking, you're stuck in like,
You're
"Oh,
stuck.
this is just this is just huge." But there's if I get fresh perspective, and people can do that because they're not all wrapped up in my stuff, and they don't bring all the emotions to bear and all the things that run around in my head. They are just bringing new eyes, and they go, "Oh." It's like when I call my husband and I tell him I can't do something on the computer, and as soon as he walks in, I learned something, so that's good. Mm.
Yeah, you buffered for a minute, so I hope we caught that. Um, what role does intentional follow-up play in helping people regain traction?
Oh, intentional follow-up. Are you
Yeah.
talking about from the perspective of me following up with you when you're stuck, or them following up on things that they should be doing? Which one do you think?
I'm thinking you, the one who's stuck.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I think when you and I should be willing to own our problems and have people coach us and put out a level of, okay, here's what I'm going to do next, and this is the time frame and what I'm going to do it, and I need to give people the ability to come back and follow up with me and ask me if I've done those things and challenge me. And how did it work?
Yeah.
They want to celebrate your successes too, right? And come alongside you. Maybe I, as the person who is kind of stuck, should be willing to just go ahead and report in because I
Yeah.
want I
Yeah.
want you to celebrate my successes, right? And to have
Mhm.
that person and let them in my life is absolutely key. Now, I will tell you, I do not find that my spouse is the best person for that. Generally, because I know my spouse is committed to me. We're going to stay married. He loves me. And it's very easy for me to not follow through on something I commit to do because he's still supposed to be there. If I get someone
Mhm.
outside of that circle, that I am my level of commitment to get it done goes way up. Now that might be a fault that I can't do that with my husband, but I
Yeah.
get that outside person, then I know I am way more likely to do the hard things sometimes that I need to do. That's my next best step. So I would say it's absolutely critical. No person gets anywhere by themselves. And we all need teams and supportive people who can come alongside of us, because we're meant to do things in community in larger groups. And so entrepreneurs can be very isolated. And you need, whether it's another entrepreneur or a group or whatever, you need people that speak into your life because it just gives you so much more wisdom to make sure you're moving well and in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think following up with those who have helped you with the unstuck helps teach them how to keep you motivated, because you
Yes.
say, "Oh, she actually did follow through." It said, "Oh, she needed a little bit of coaching, a little bit of follow up on my part, which can help you both." And so it's working with a coach or a mentor or a support group. It's a two-way thing.
Yes.
You've got to give them feedback. Otherwise, they won't be as effective as they could be.
Yeah.
Right?
So when we have our girls that are in our life on life groups at Anchor Point, the caseworker person that's working with them literally says, "Okay, what's your next step?" They write it down, and then they have a date, and then the caseworker goes, "Okay, when you do that, then I'm going to help you do this." And so we're journeying together. We're
Mhm.
not doing it for them, but we're empowering them and helping them. And that's kind of what the coach is there to do, is to say, okay, now think about this, or think about this, or how can you get here? And that's what we need to always have. I need that when I work out. I can work out, but it's not going to be very effective. And a coach
Yeah.
will give me more effective exercises to do that maximize my time and my impact. And I'm going, I want to be about that. So I want to submit to that. And they can certainly tell if I do them or not, right? So I get
Yeah. Yeah.
accountability, and they give me more exercises that will help me take it to the next level.
Yeah. And we're not just talking about physical exercises. We're
Yeah.
talking about exercises. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So we've been circling around God quite a bit, or maybe
Yeah.
the God is at the center of our conversation. I thankfully. So how do we integrate faith and leadership without compromising growth and professionalism?
I would say whatever is your core is what is going to drive what you do. So for me, God is core. And I believe God's word's true, and I want to make sure that I stay in alignment with that. And I have found that that's never failed me. So, do I want to be a person that has the fruits of the Spirit referenced in the Bible? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self control. Sounds like those might be helpful in business, and
Yeah.
so I want to have those. I want to be a person of integrity. And so I always want to be truthful and honest and above board. And I want transparency. And so all of these things in my God world are things that are just foundations upon which I can build a business of integrity and good choices and stuff like that. I find that if God is the creator of the universe and he has kind of everything in his hands, he has a lot more wisdom that I can rely on. And
Mhm.
when I rely on that, then he opens doors or closes doors that are opportunities for me. And I can go, okay, look at what my God did. I mean, it wasn't just me that got me out of that hospital room. It was
Yeah.
God working through me, because I don't know how people walk through pain like that without that solid base. And so, I can say, hey, this is a testament of what God has done in my life. And
Mm.
praise God for that. And I'll give him all the glory for that. But I find that it keeps me on the straight and narrow. If that wasn't my core, I may be willing to sacrifice on things. And so I go,
Yeah.
it just builds the base for a foundation for something that is really good. And I go, seems like a pretty solid base throughout history. So why not? I'm going to trust that. And I had nowhere else to trust. And so I just learned that early, with the loss of the boys.
Yeah, and often we're faced with the pressures to respond and grow quickly. I mean, today we got um, tariffs and things like that. There are
Mhm.
opportunities to cheat, to do other things that might be below your boards. How do you balance that? Your faith-driven. I mean, I think I know
Yeah.
the answer, but but
Well, the reality is there's always going to be opportunities like that.
yeah.
There's always going to be opportunities. I mean, like, if you have money coming in and like you're working in a company and you do all the money stuff, you can easily take money. It's always going to be a temptation, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what are my values and what do I stand for when no one is looking?
Mhm.
That is what matters, because that is what I'll fall back on. And then how do I create accountability if it's a struggle area for me, right?
Mhm.
So that I don't get tempted, or what, things do I put in place to protect the organization or to protect me, because we want what's best for our employees and us as staff people to be able to be successful. We don't want to put anybody in a compromised situation. So I think it's, what do I believe when no one's looking? What are my
Mhm.
core beliefs? And those are the ones that I will live out. And so I can cheat. And you know what? I might get away with it for a long time. But
Yeah.
the reality is it'll come out. It always comes out. It always comes out. It's just a matter of time.
Right. And especially if you're oriented towards the eternal, it
Mhm.
absolutely will come out. Even
Yeah.
if even if the world doesn't find out,
Mhm.
God knows.
Yeah. So and I've seen it like in relationships when I handle those well, even though it was unfair, unjust, whatever, when I walk through those well and I give forgiveness and grace and I'm able to keep on going and loving and praying for that person, God deals with all the rest of it. And that person, some point down the road, sometimes, a lot of times, come back around. And
Yeah.
because we've landed there and I just already predetermined my response, we're able to pick up and figure our way forward. And I think that pleases God, as we
Yeah.
both go through that.
Yes. I love that. So as we wrap up with your final words, Debbie, what are three things that our listeners can do today to lead better, to have that impact that we're talking about, to be a better example for people? And what's your take on that?
Yeah. So first is I would say if you can name it, you can tame it.
Yeah.
So if we have issues and are just getting the stuff out of our head, then we can figure out how to conquer it. But if it just rolls around, so writing it down, getting it out of your head, I think is powerful.
Mhm.
The second one would be put people in your life that can help you, coach you, give accountability, whatever we need. And then the last one is just breathe. It's going to be all right.
Ah,
We're going to figure our way. Just breathe. And once we do, the way will become clear.
right. Make sure you breathe deep.
Yes, breathe deep. Yes.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure having you on today, Debbie. For our listeners, you can go to www.thedebbie.simmons.com. That's TheDebbieSimmons.com. And you can also get some resources there at
Hmm.
thedebbieSimmons.com/resources.
Hmm.
And you can connect with her, and I'm sure you can find all the ways you can connect with her and learn from her more. So as we sign off, remember, faith and action go hand in hand. So keep the pedal to the metal. Until next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show, I'm Paul Guyon, and Debbie Simmons. It's just been a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lead Machine Growth Show with Paul Guyon, where we show you how to tackle your tech, master your message, and design your dream so that you can transform your vision into reality. Remember to visit our website at www.leadmachinegrowthshow.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Lead Machine Growth Show.